Yo, yo, what's up, the world? Be Marsh Boxing, and I'm back at it with another boxing video. So this the type of shit I like to talk about, man. Positive news, especially for my superheroes when I was a young boy in the 90s. But here we have it, 2022 Hall of Fame, International Boxing Hall of Fame headline. The class will be headlined by three greats, three legends: Roy Jones Jr., James Toney, and Puerto Rican's own Miguel Angel Cotto. Now, this is a very great class right here. Very great class. These guys are sure shot first ballot Hall of Famers, no question about it. I mean? The man, Miguel Cotto's last fight, them fellas lost to what's his name, Saddam Ali. That didn't mean nothing. He was a Hall of Famer before that. Roy Jones Jr., I don't even know the last time I see who he was in the ring with. Maybe Mike Tyson on some exhibition. But the point is, these guys are great fighters. James Toney, especially James Toney, I was a big fan of as a kid. You know what I mean? James Toney was my dude. You know, James Toney, man, I rooted for him over Roy Jones, to be honest. And Roy Jones just made me look stupid in 1994 November. I was in seventh grade when that fight happened. You know what I mean? Yes, indeed. But these three will be headlining the 2022 class. I believe 2021 there wasn't no Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? So they're gonna combine last year's or this year's 2021 um, candidates, which also is a great class. Floyd Mayweather, Vladimir Klitschko, and Andre Ward. All six of these guys I mentioned are sure shot first ballot Hall of Famers. You know what I mean? James Toney had great fights with Montel Griffin, of course, Roy Jones Jr. Stopped Evander Holyfield at heavyweight. What's that guy's name? That cruiserweight, that dude from you was it Kazakhstan or Ukraine that he fought? Vasily Girov. You know what I mean? Great. Those are some of the most memorable fights I have from James Toney. You know what I mean? Fights where he wasn't even supposed to win them fights. You know what I mean? And he won them. Had fights with what's my man name at middleweight from Houston, Reggie Johnson. A fight that could have gone either way. Where Roy Jones hit the canvas. I said Roy Jones, excuse me, James Toney. His resume is impeccable. You know what I mean? Fought a lot of great fighters. You know, James Toney could have should have been in the Hall of Fame years ago. But James Toney is also a guy who has tested positive for steroids, unfortunately. Whether I like a guy or not, I'll still have to mention these type of things because I'm very anti-drugs, anti-PEDs. I mean, this is a sport where people get killed. So somebody coming in with the advantage of PEDs, I can't fuck with them, can't roll with them, you know. But James Toney, I can because James Toney is a great fighter, a legend. My childhood heroes. Roy Jones Jr., great fighter. Got his first world title when he beat Bernard Hopkins at RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C., you know, on the undercard of Riddick Bowe versus, oh shit, what's that guy's name? Damn, what's that guy's name? I even forgot his name, but he got a big win over, I'm forgetting all these heavyweights' names. Dude who was in the Olympics in '88, he fought Lennox Lewis. Y'all know who I'm talking about if you know your boxing. So, Roy Jones, man, went up to heavyweight, got himself a strap up there. He's fought a lot of great fighters. You know what I mean? James Toney, Bernard Hopkins twice. He fought Calzaghe. He's, I said James Toney, Virgil Hill. So great fighter deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and so is the Miguel Cotto. You know what I mean? Great fights from, I remember them fights with Ricardo Torres, man. That was an 8 round war. Fights with Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, Canoli, Austin Trout, Margarito, Paulie Malignaggi. We ain't get to see Ricky Hatton versus Miguel Cotto. Another fight for Roy Jones we ain't get to see is Roy Jones versus Darius Michikowski. Another fight we ain't get to see, but no fault to James Toney because Toney fought everybody. Was fights with he fought McCallum. What's his name? Bernard Hopkins. I believe Bernard Hopkins avoided him. I mean, so I'm looking forward to watching this Hall of Fame come 2022. Great fighters. Mike 104 says, "Oh slouches, what's up, Mike?" Chris M says, "What's good, B Marsh? What's up with you, man?" Chris M says, "When they picking the ballot?" Well, these guys are already, only three modern fighters get to make it, right? And then they're gonna have some women. Holly Holm, as a matter of fact, let me not exclude her. She's gonna make it into the Boxing Hall of Fame in Canastota International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2022. Uh, so they've been already picked. So 2023 is when we're gonna have a next. Is when we don't know who's gonna make it. I haven't seen the ballot yet, but we already have our 2022 Hall of Fame enshrinees. Chris M says Giraffe. Yes, absolutely, Giraffe. That's right. Mike McCallum says Mike Nunn, Giraffe. I'm sorry, Mike 104 says Mike McCallum, Michael Nunn, Giraffe, Holyfield, Iran Barkley. Absolutely, Iran Barkley. Man, that was a great fight. How could I forget about that? One of his greatest performances. Tony got one of the best mouthpieces too. Talks that good shit. That's why I liked him. And this is a guy who was like his reflexes was vicious. You think Roy Jones reflexes vicious? Look at how he did Iran Barkley. Man stood in the pocket, and them fellas was like the Matrix. Couldn't even touch him. Chris M says Riddick Bowe versus Ferguson. There you go. Jesse Ferguson, absolutely. And Jesse Ferguson beat what's that heavyweight name, man? Them fellas, what's his name? Gave him a good ass fight too. Uh, uh, an old Larry Holmes, WBO champion, the dude who damn near killed motherfucking that white dude from the Rocky movie. Man, I'm drawing a blank on these guys' names. I haven't watched some. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I haven't watched old school boxing in a while since like 2020 when the pandemic was just in full swing. Ray Mercer, thank you, Chris. You my dude, son. Give thanks. Yes, there you go, Ray Mercer. These names are just can't even remember the white boy's name he beat. Y'all know who I'm talking about, man. The white boy who had the HIV. You know what I'm saying? Mike 104 says James Toney was kind of active in his past year, so I'm guessing his eligibility was delayed for a while now. His eligibility has been denied. He could have been made it. He's been out of boxing for 5 years. He could have made he could have made the Hall of Fame 10 years ago. To be honest, you know what I mean. I believe it's the steroids. And also a lot of fights that he has, that he shouldn't have lost to guys like Drake Dodzy and Tommy Morrison. Chris M, I knew you'd put it in there. Tommy Morrison, my man. He says Tommy Morrison, his son got beat by a football player last weekend. Ah, shit. What card was that on? Because I missed that one. Um, but that's why they held back the man James Toney, man. It was because of the steroids. And also them losses, the Tabiti. Is it Tabiti? What's the guy's name? The guy that he lost to and he got a gift decision. And them fights versus Montel Griffin, those are fights that could have gone either way. As a matter of fact, I thought he won the first one, Montel Griffin. But I'm a fan of James Toney. He was just a guy who also wasn't disciplined with his weight, you know. I'm not too sure how often he trained. There's a great fighter in the Crunk gym when he used to spar with fellas there. He's from Michigan. You know what I mean? So he gonna come to Detroit, man. There's footage of him fighting, sparring fellas like the G-Man, But Dave Tabiri, Dan the Man Boxing. What's up, Dan the Man? Dan the Man, big ups. He says, congrats to the new Hall of Fame class. Long overdue for James Toney. Absolutely, man. Long overdue. I told somebody a while ago, like a year or two ago here on YouTube, James Toney ain't in the Hall of Fame. He couldn't believe it, man. He was trying to argue with me. I was like, man, I wish he was, but he's not yet. He had to go look it up, and he couldn't believe that shit. Dan the Man, big ups, man. Dave Tabiri, that's right. Chris M says it was on Jerry Forrest. What was that? Jerry Forrest versus Michael Hunter. Was that on Triller? I didn't see that shit. I only saw the highlights of a mean knockout. Oh, I don't even know if that's the same fight I'm talking about. The mean knockout I'm talking about was Michael Hunter on that Dipset versus Locks versus on the or like on the boxing event portion of that Triller app. You know what I mean? Um, Mike 104 says Mike Tyson is easy work and the Blitchko sisters too. What do you mean easy work? You gotta clarify that. Dan the Mad Boxer says, "Oh snap, Holly Holm is inducted too. Absolutely, yeah. Holly Holm is getting in too, and well deserved. You know what I mean? Holly Holm is a warrior for women's boxing. Yeah, man. So it's a great class, and like I said, they're gonna combine 2021's Hall of Fame, which is Andre Ward, Klitschko, and Floyd, with this class. So it's gonna be a star-studded event. As I speak about it right now, I should even consider whether I'm gonna go up to New York to Canastota. Now, Canastota is in the middle of nowhere, y'all. That ain't like going to New York City. I could get to New York City quick, whether it's on I-95 or on the Amtrak or these buses that go to Chinatown all day, every day from DC. But Canastota, that shit like upstate New York, man. You going in the them kind of places like where Catskills and them kind of places. It's pretty rural. Them the kind of places, man. If you go there for the Hall of Fame, you gotta go for the weekend, cause there ain't no going up there and then coming back, driving back. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be at least. I'm talking about a driving. I would probably say a 7 to 8 hour drive. You know what I mean? So I'd have to consider it, but I'd love to go see the Hall of Fame. That's one of my bucket lists, going to the Hall of Fame in boxing and basketball. You know what I mean? I wanted to go for Paul Pierce. He just got into the Hall of Fame, but I ain't get an opportunity to. I think I probably had other things on my itinerary to do. But if I plan ahead, I'd love to go to Canastota, New York for this one. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Quote from Tony. I get you, Mike Waterboy. Yes, yes. He did say Mike was easy work. And call them fellas the Bitchko sisters. Jay Stoney crazy, man. He said one of my favorite quotes from Jay Stoney is when he said Tyson would be easy, and I remember that. He called the Klitschko's the Bitchko sisters. Uh then the man boxer says, I'm still pissed that Simon Brown has yet to be inducted. Yeah, man, Simon Brown, man, this guy had, multiple defenses of his welterweight strap, two-weight champion. This is a guy from here, Washington, D.C. If you look at my community page, I took a picture of the gym where he used to box at over there on Columbia Road, Adams Morgan, where he met what's the guy's name? Maurice Hooker. My good man, my man Remo. Shout out to Remo. Remo went to high school with Maurice Hooker's kids. He knows the Hooker family. He knows or has met Maurice Hooker, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So, these are guys from my local area, you know what I mean? And Simon Brown is definitely a dude, man, who these guys are not like fighters of today. These guys really worked hard to get to a position to where they can Especially him being an immigrant from Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? Went to the point where sparring guys like Ray Leonard, you know, getting that what's the guy's name? Pepe Correa was a coach. He had the gym over there in the church. It was in the basement of the church. And the name of the gym, what do you call it? Latin Latin Connection or something. I think it was called Latin Connection. But they had great sparring sessions in there. You know what I mean? They build boys to men, literally. Because Maurice Hooker and Simon Brown was going to that gym when they were still high school students up here off Georgia Ave on what you call it, Eleanor Roosevelt High School. You know what I mean? You check it. So it's really turned boys into champions. Fuck boys to men, then to world champions. And they fought each other in a unification at welterweight as best friends. I really respect these guys, and I wish my city, was would have champions like they used to. DC's dry. DC don't have not one world champion. You know, Capitol Heights, Maryland, which is right on the border of DC, has Gary Russell, and he's kind of blowing me these days too. And blowing me in DC slang means he's pissing me off. And I ain't the type to be saying pause and shit. He's blowing me. Anybody from the DMV, I know what I'm talking about. Gary Russell blowing me because Slim ain't fighting nobody and ain't defending his straps. Look, I wouldn't mind if he retired if he really wants to go hard body and train his little brothers and make them into world champions and hopefully train them into be better fighters than he ever was. If he can do that, then he's doing boxing a service. Because otherwise, man, I want to see him in a unification or something. And I know fighters ain't ready to jump out there and just face the man, Gay Russell, because this kid got skills. He ain't even a kid no more. But my city ain't got champions like that no more, man. We ain't got no more Keith Holmes, Mark Two Sharp Johnsons, motherfucking what's that dude who beat up a old Duran? That shit pissed me off. He swear to this day Tito Trinidad cheated and had plaster of Paris in his hands. Um, what's my guy? He got a gym over here in Rockville, Maryland. William Joppy, you know what I mean? We don't produce champions, but we still have local gyms, mostly in the outskirts. The only gym I know really in Washington D.C. is the Bald Eagle gym where Barry Hunter, and that's in a rec center. You know what I mean? It's not like a private gym like Mayweather Gym or Wild Card. Even though Wild Card is, anybody could go in there. This joint is a Bald Eagle gym is Bald Eagle Recreational Center is a DC recreational DC rec center, but so happens to be that's where Barry Hunter's gym is. They have the gym over there in Temple Hills. What they call it? Is it Hills? Not Hillside. Where Jared Hurd was training at. He don't train here no more cause he's with that new guy. That guy, that K Karama guy. Yeah, I mean, they got the Oxon Hill gym, which trains a lot of good amateur kids. You know what I mean? There's gonna be a lot of that. Might be where our next world champion is gonna come from. Sorry if I'm going on a rant, man, but it just kind of blows me and pisses me off that this is a fight city. One thing about Washington D.C., Maryland, DMV, they love two things. They love their Washington Redskins. Actually, three. Washington Redskins, that's number one. That's the king out here. Georgetown Hoyas, when they good. Georgetown was actually just a team for Black America, period. Not just in the DC area. You know what I'm saying? And they love the fight game. But we ain't got that much to show anymore. And it's sad. It saddens me. Yeah, I met Maurice Blocker. That's right. Maurice Blocker. I said Maurice Hooker. Maurice Blocker. Yes, the dude who Trinidad damn near killed, man. 1993 for that IBF strap. Blood clot. Yeah, man. Mike 104 says, who next? I got milk, baby. Who next? That was classic James Toney. Yes, indeed. Dan DeMat says, it's been a long while since DC had a dominant champion. I think Too Sharp is the last great fighter from DC. He absolutely is. He's the greatest boxer from DC. And the youngest man to ever make the Hall of Fame, man, he was in the Hall of Fame and he was like 38, 39 years old. That's just how great Too Sharp Johnson is, fighting in divisions that are dominated by Hispanics and Asian fighters. As far as that's who he's gonna fight, ain't too many black fighters that he could face. Johnny Tapia, a guy I used to love. I love Johnny Tapia. Rest in peace. Man, he ducked him like the plague. And Johnny Tapia could box. Johnny Tapia was vicious. He could box. He could slug it out. He had vicious defense, reflexes, and all that. It's just a natural born fighter, but he seen something in Too Sharp Johnson. He said, nah, no thanks. Too Sharp Johnson, the black fighter he fought, and he knocked him out in like one round on ESPN. I remember was a dude named Arthur Johnson, who was a top 5 fighter in them bantamweights and super flyweights. You know what I mean? Uh Chris M says, what you think about Gary Antonio and Gary Antoine Russell? Gary Antoine, that's the one. He's the real deal. The kid at 140. Now, Gary, he's gonna be vicious. He's gonna be vicious. He's vicious right now. He's ready for a title shot right now. You know what I mean? He's ready for a title shot, whether win, lose, or draw. He's a guy who has extensive amateur pedigree as well. Didn't win no medal in the 2016 Olympics, but him and his brother were there in Rio, and they got enough experience in the amateurs, and they showcasing it in the pros. Now, what's his name had in his last fight? Gary Antoine Russell. Now, Antonio, excuse me, the one at bantamweight. He ain't look good. I'm even forgetting who he fought, and I watched it. I covered it, but he ain't look good. That fight could have gone either way. You know what I mean? I had it a draw, as a matter of fact. Chris M says Joppy. Yep, William Joppy says Dan the Man. Chris M says Joppy versus Holmes, a fight we all missed out on, like Shambe Mitchell versus Judah. Shit would have been mad explosive. Absolutely, man. I did actually a video on that, fights we didn't get to see. Keith Holmes, the southpaw from DC, who would train out there in Palmer Park, where Ray Leonard from, versus my man from Rockville, Maryland, William Joppy, and these two guys were promoted by Don King. They were both Don King guys. But Don King just let them hold them titles, build, and as a matter of fact, right? Both of these guys, Keith Holmes and Joppy, they're like two-time champions because they lost their strap and then they did a rematch and then they got it back. I remember Keith Holmes lost to that French Moroccan dude with a bald, big receding hairline. What was his name? Like Hassan Ali, not Ali, some shit like that. He lost the fight the first time. I was pissed, but he got it back like I knew he would. That dude Hassan Ali, he fought Tito Trinidad as well. And William Joppy had them 3 wars with that Dominican dude. Was it Harvey? Somebody? Was it Green? Somebody Green. You know what I mean? And they lost their titles and they got them back. Don King just prolonged the inevitable and he put him in that middleweight tournament. B Hop got Keith Holmes, beat him easily, the southpaw Keith Holmes. And then Tito Trinidad got he knocked out William Joppy in a great fight. That shit went 4 rounds, but goddamn, what a fight. And then there was the fight between Tito Trinidad and B Hop. So that's why they never fought each other, but it was a damn shame. And just like Chris M said, Shambe Mitchell versus Judah would have been great at a 140. But another fight of two guys who were champions at the same time in the same division, a fight that should have happened for us here in the DC, Maryland area, is Shambe Mitchell versus Chop Chop Corley. Chop Chop Corley was a WBO champ. Shambe was a WBA, 140. That shit should have happened. Man, we had some great fighters them times, man. Champions all over, dog. I'm trying to tell you, boy, we had mad champions out here. Where we at? Dan the Man says it's a shame that Ricardo Lopez, Johnny Tapia, and Rosendo Alvarez avoided Too Sharp. Damn right, man. Damn shame. You know? Too Sharp Johnson, you know what I mean? Them fellas ain't get the fights, but he's the kind of guy who really got into the Hall of Fame because of all the great fighters that avoided him. They had to put him in. Now I've heard some biases before from people here on YouTube, never really in real life, you know what I mean? Because I guess on the internet is where you could air your grievances, whatever you've been holding in all this time. They say that the detractors say that the Boxing Hall of Fame is biased towards American fighters. You know what I mean? And I can't remember who made it, and I was also a little skeptical. There was somebody who made it, an American fighter, recently in the last three years or so. It's not ringing a bell right now. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember who. Buddy McGirt. Now I like Buddy McGirt, y'all. I do, man. I like Buddy McGirt, man. Buddy McGirt, that fight versus Simon Brown, I couldn't believe what he did to that man. I couldn't believe that shit. You know what I'm saying? Um, I like the man, the Buddy McGirt, but I personally don't believe he's a Hall of Fame boxer. I don't believe that his resume. He hasn't beaten anybody who's in the Hall of Fame. Then that's just the truth about it. You know what I mean? You know, and I'm not gonna say the Hall of Fame is biased towards American fighters and blah blah blah. I'm not gonna go that far. I'm just gonna say I don't believe Buddy McGirt is a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? I like James Buddy McGirt from Long Island. You know what I mean? Great fighter. You know what I'm saying? Was a great fighter, a two different weight class champion. You know what I'm saying? But he ain't beat nobody, y'all. Yo, he got stopped by Meldrick Taylor. I couldn't believe Meldrick stopped him too, and he stopped him late. You know what I mean? He knocked out Howard Davis Jr. That was a nice KO, like in the first or second round. But one thing for sure, two things for certain. Howard Davis, I even made a video here on my YouTube shit, and I need to get back on that. I need to get back on doing my old school vids. You know what I mean? Howard Davis to me is arguably the greatest disappointment in American boxing history. A guy who was so highly touted, who never even won a world title. Man, I've seen a lot of guys who are, let me not say bums, but guys win world titles by hook or by crook, and Howard Davis never achieved that. You know what I mean? But Buddy McGirt, like I said, I like the guy. He has a resume of a lot of nobodies. He beat Simon Brown, great W. He became, I believe, he was the lineal champion when he beat that man. You know what I'm saying? Simon Brown was, you know. But he lost to Sweet Pea twice. You know what I mean? He ain't beat no Hall of Famers, y'all. And I love Buddy McGirt, but I'm gonna just keep it tall with y'all. Um, Chris M says Tapia and Romero wanted no parts of Johnson. Pacquiao ain't come to states until he outgrew them divisions. That's another guy too, Pacquiao, who avoided Too Sharp, because Pacquiao went from 115 when he got hit with that body shot. You know what I'm saying? When he lost his strap at 115, because they say he was draining himself. He was too big for the weight. All right, cool. Them fellas went from 115, skipped 118, where Too Sharp was campaigning at the time. And this is an older Too Sharp, you know what I mean? And then he went to 122, and he became a world champion over there when he beat Lilo Ledwaba. Um, yeah, definitely Johnny Romero, man. He wanted no parts of Too Sharp, you know what I mean? They gave us that great fight, the Battle of New Mexico, which was a fight they didn't even have in Albuquerque, New Mexico, because of the gang violence in that city. That the city was divided. Some people for Johnny Tapia, some people for the Romero kid. You know what I mean? And they said, "Nah, we're not doing this fight here. There's gonna be violence, win, lose or draw. There's gonna be chaos in the city." So they staged the fight in Las Vegas. Um, Chris M says Alexander Santiago, Antonio Russell barely pulled that out. Yeah, yep, Santiago, absolutely. That was like 3 weeks ago, maybe two. It was actually on the undercard of Cool Boy Steph, and I thought Cool Boy Steph, man, I thought he lost that fight, man. I thought he lost that unification. Close fight, but I had a 7-5 for Brandon Figueroa, and I like Cool Boy Steph. I've seen him fight live. I've seen him fight live. So guys who I usually see fight live, especially if I didn't know about them before, or if I've been following them, I watch them closely. Julia Chris M says Julio Cesar Green. There you go. Julio Cesar Green. I said Javier Green. Julio Cesar Green. He says I haven't seen all three fights. Yeah, man. That's a guy. The man. What's his name? William Jaffe fought 3 times, and those are great fights. Classic fights, to be honest. Chris M says I wish B Hop and Quincy Taylor fought. All that trash talking. Yeah, that'd have been a great fight. Shit, man. If it wasn't for Quincy Taylor's the dude who was training for Marvin Hagler. Now Andrew Council, if it look, we B Hop never ever unified no straps all them years from when he became champion in 95 when he fought the Ecuadorian guy. Um um what's that guy's name? Segundo Mercado, okay? So from 95, he ain't get to unify till '01 or 2000, the year 2000 when he fought Keith Holmes. So all them years, I like B-Hop, but I'm critical about his middleweight reign. I've always been. And if it wasn't for fucking my man, I'd have loved to see what's the guy's name? The Virgin Islands guy, the Hawk. The Hawk versus B Hop, man. That was a unification sitting there waiting. WBC IBF. B Hop, man, they ain't never do it. You know? They ain't never do it. Rob G says, finally, James Toney in one of my all time faves. Absolutely, Rob G. What's up with you? What's up, Dan? Be Marsh. That's what Rob G says. What's up, big man? Um, Dan the Man Boxer says, I remember a time where no one gave Too Sharp a chance to beat Fernando Montiel because many thought Too Sharp was washed up. Yes, indeed. Yep, and he became a bantamweight champ. He got himself a strap. I believe this was even after his. This was after he had even lost, if I'm not mistaken, to what's them fights? What's that guy's name? Rafael Marquez. You know what I mean? You check it. So Mark Two Sharp Johnson, yeah, I remember that fight versus young Montiel. It's something sort of like when Michael Carbajal, when he fought in his last fight of his career, he was supposed to get beat up by young Jorge Arce, you know, and it was because them fellas, Carbajal was slipping, man. He hadn't beaten nobody of good of late. He had got stopped by baby Jake Matalala, the dude from South Africa. The dude was like 5'9". Dude was 5'9". I said 5'9". Excuse me, 4'9". Dude was 4'9", but man, baby Jake was that dude. You know what I mean? You check it. So it was something sort of similar to that situation where Montiel was there to battle on the old man. Old for that weight class, you know what I mean? Because that weight class, man, they don't age too well. Them lower weights, you know what I mean? You check it. So them fellas after, and that was after he got stopped by Rafael Marquez. In the first fight, where Too Sharp fought Rafael Marquez, I think I did a video on that one. I had Marquez. I'm sorry, Too Sharp winning that fight. But in the second fight, man, Rafael Marquez, man, he was a heavy-handed mofo, dogs. Them fellas used to blitz fighters, man. He stopped Too Short. He stopped that guy from Cincinnati, that Cincinnati dude who was an Olympian. I'm forgetting Slim's name. It was the slim black dude, man. I'm sure one of y'all gonna remind me in the chat. Y'all always on top of shit. You heard? That's why I respect y'all, man. I don't think I'll be having any casuals who come up in this piece. My man, there you go, Tim Austin, the Cincinnati kid. Yeah, man, the Cincinnati kid got his ass beat by got stopped in like the 8th round. You know what I mean? And that's when the man Rafael Marquez became a champion. I respect Marquez because he went up to 122 in his first try versus Israel Vasquez, and they had four classic fights. And he went up there in his first try at 122, and he stopped that man. He stopped that man. That's greatness. You know what I mean? And Rafael Marquez, I believe one day will be in the Hall of Fame with his brother. You know what I mean? You check it. I remember when he went up there to fight fellas like Juanma Lopez though at featherweight, and he is just a little too small for Juanma. And Juanma Lopez was a big mofo, was a big motherfucker. You know what I mean? At featherweight. You know what I mean? That's why. What's his name was like 30-0 with like 29 KOs. Juanma Lopez. You know what I mean? Man, boxing used to be great. I still love boxing, but I don't like none of these new fighters, dogs. I don't. I don't like how they move. They move like some hoes. They want to get the most money for the lowest risk. They want to play Super Mario on the easiest fucking or Metal Gear Solid on the easiest level, and then they beat that joint and they say I'm the man. That's how these fellas do boxing these days. Look at Tank Davis. I seen Tank Davis talking about, man, I'll beat George Cambosa's ass. I don't even need the belts. Let's do it. We don't even need them belts. Like, come on, are you serious? Yeah, Tank Davis, because you've been walking around, you've been baby fed with the regular belts and people calling you champ. You believe that shit. You know what I mean? Let me keep it moving on the chat. Then the man boxer says, "Yo, B Marsh, do you think Andrew Maynard and Terrell Biggs?" Hell yeah, Andrew Maynard's a big disappointment, man. Hell yeah, cuz he was an Olympian. I believe he medaled in '88 in the '88 Olympics. No question, man. Andrew Maynard, man, he was definitely a big disappointment, dogs. Because if I'm not mistaken, he came out the '88 Olympics with with a medal. You know what I mean? Who's the other guy you said? Terrell Biggs, no question. These guys were He's from the '88 Olympics too. You know what I mean? You know, just like what's his name? Ray Mercer. You know what I'm saying? That was a great class in '88. You know what I mean? Them fellas, Andrew Maynard, man, I believe he came out of that gen with a gold medal in '88. And he's from Maryland. He's from PG County. He's from PG County. You know what I mean? But he definitely was a disappointment. I love that fight with him versus what's the guy's name? Tommy Hitman Hearns. Hitman stopped his big ass in one round, and that was the Hitman coming up to cruiserweight. You know what I mean? That shows you what kind of real power them fellas Tommy Hearns got. One of my all-time favorites, top five. I'm gonna tell y'all my top five of all time fighters. You know what I mean? My favorites, not who I think's the greatest, just fellas who I just revere. Marvin Hagler, Pernell Whitaker, Roberto Duran, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather. I think that's five already, right? Yeah, those are my top five of all time. You know what I mean? If I gotta go 6 through 10, you know, I got James Toney. I got um my man Michael Spinks. I love Michael Spinks, man. That dude was unorthodox like shit. Orthodox fighter, but unorthodox. His style was he'd lure you to sleep and then he'll knock your ass out. You know what I mean? I like my favorite heavyweight to watch. I like fellas like what's my man's name? Them fellas who fought Rocky Marciano, Ezra Charles. I know Ezra Charles is Dan the man's favorite fighter. You know what I mean? You check it. Um, Damn, man, I'm drawing a blank, man. Y'all know what I'm talking about, man. He got knocked out, man. He was beating Rocky Marciano, then he got knocked out, man. And he was an old man too. You know what I mean? Shit, man. When I mention and talk old school boxing, it just sometimes, man, I be forgetting some of these fighters' names. You know what I mean? Especially from the old school. I like I like the Irishman, the what's his name? Yeah, Jersey Joe Walcott. There you go, Jersey Joe Walcott style. I love watching his style. I think my favorite heavyweight was Lennox Lewis, but them fellas, Jersey Joe Walcott, man, his movement, man, his skills, man, how he, keeps that tight defense. You know what I'm saying? I also like the guy, them fellas who fought Jack Dempsey, the Irishman. You know what I mean? What's his name? The dude, y'all know who I'm talking about, man. What's the Irish dude, man? Them fellas in the long count. Um, he's a Navy guy. Them fellas only have one loss. He lost to Harry Greb, and he also beat Harry Greb too. Oh man, y'all know who I'm talking about, man. The Irishman. Yes, Gene Tunney. There you go. Gene Tunney, I like them fellas' skill set. I like Gene Tunney, man. And when it come to them old school boxers, when it come to heavyweight, I prefer watching those guys over like a Joe Louis. You know what I mean? I also like Jack Johnson. I like slick fighters. That's just always been my favorite. I also got Hector Camacho. He's in my top 10 of all time because these are guys I knew as a little kid before I even knew who Mike Tyson was. It was Ray Leonard, Hagler, of course, the four kings, and my guy at 130 and 135, Hector Macho Camacho. Even my Ma Dukes, rest in peace. She used to love Hector Macho Camacho. You know what I mean? Shit make me want to cry thinking about that shit, man. You check it, but yeah, man. Uh, let me finish reading the chat. Uh, yeah, man, definitely. Dan the man, Andrew Maynard, big time. He was a gold medalist, man. Big time disappointment. Shit. Um, them fellas, Andrew Maynard, them fellas never ever got himself a world title. You know, he never won a world title. You know what I mean? Them fellas, nah, man. Them fellas got knocked out by. I remember he also got knocked out by Bobby Chaz. I think that might have been one of his first losses. You know what I mean? And he ain't have a chin. Nope, nope. He used to get knocked out early and fast. Um, Chris M says, "Yep, it was after he fought Rafael Marquez. Larry Merchant even said he couldn't believe how Too Sharp was outboxing Montiel. Yeah, man, that was a legendary performance. Because Montiel went on to become a champion many times over." Uh, Tim Monster says, Chris M. Chris M says, second Mark Johnson was real competitive too before Marquez got him out of there. It was. And I was sad how he stopped him, man. Nobody ever done that to Too Sharp before or after. But it's just a heavy-handed Rafael Marquez. Chris M says Frank Tate was styling on Maynard. Absolutely, man. He knocked him out early. He knocked his ass out early. Chris M says Archie Moore. Yeah, the old mongoose was vicious. Yeah, he was nice. But I like Jersey Joe Walcott. Um, Chris M says, wasn't he like 4-1 versus Grab? Yeah, he was. They fought 5 times. He won. Them fellas, Harry Grab is a great fighter. And Gene Tunney has only one loss, and that's the Harry Grab. Them fellas ain't no joke, man. He ain't no joke. Neither is Miguel Cotto. Now, when Miguel Cotto fought, I wasn't the biggest fan. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I wasn't the biggest fan of his. I'm not gonna say I rooted for Margarito to beat him. Nah, look, I was indifferent about Miguel Cotto. Whether he wins or loses, I was a fan of Tito Trinidad. I was a big fan. I said Tito's gonna beat B Hop. Boy, was I wrong. You know, I was conflicted. I really became a fan of Tito when he beat one of my all-time favorites, Pernell Whitaker. Because that's just kind of like the passing of the torch at that time. You know what I mean? Pernell wasn't a champ no more. He had been out the ring for a year, and he didn't give him a damn good fight. But Tito broke his jaw early. and he still went 12 rounds with the man. You know what I mean? You know. But I love that fight with fucking with that gold medalist from the 96 Olympics. That kid from Philly, man. That kid had a bad eye already before he came into that fight. WBA champ at 154. Um, I'm sure y'all gonna help me remember his name, man. That fight with Tito Trinidad versus that dude. Oh shit, I'm forgetting his name right now. Y'all gonna remind me. What a fight! What a fight, man. Tito Trinidad ruined that kid, but he had already had retina and bad eye issues before that. And I believe that's why they fast tracked that kid. Look, that guy was a gold medalist, and he was a champion with at 154 with like 12 fights. You know what I mean? And that's what I was saying before when I started this live stream. You know what I mean? Or was it maybe in my last joint? Where fellas like Buatsi, Philip Horgovich, Tony Yoka, all these guys medal in the 2016 Olympics. Here we are in 2021, going 2022, 6 years later, and these guys ain't even sniff a world title. They ain't even get a world title shot, man. Rigo was a world champion when he was like 9-0. You know what I mean? I'm saying them fellas, Rigo was a champion early. They fast tracked him. Lomachenko was challenging for world titles in his second fight. You check it? David Reed. There you go, Chris M. Salute on that one. David Reed. Yeah, man. That kid from Philly, man, he got ruined in that fight. I believe he had beat the Frenchman, Laurent Bundini, to get that WBA strap. After Laurent Bundini had decimized, faded Terry Norris. I ain't like that shit. And that's also another guy I wasn't a big fan of. Some people revere certain fighters, some don't. I remember as a kid, I wasn't a big Terry Norris fan. I was a James Toney fan, you know. But Terry Norris was a great fighter at 154. You know what I mean? Was a great fighter. I love Tito Trinidad versus Fernando Vargas. What a fight! That's why I like Tito because them fellas get Bill bail his ass out with that left hook. Chris M says Johnny Gonzalez stopped too sharp, but Johnson. Oh yes, that was his last fight. True indeed. Yeah. But Johnson was done by the drugs, inactivity, and age. Yeah. Yep. Johnny Gonzalez. It was a big puncher, too. Um, Chris M says back and forth fight through the middle rounds, Trinidad versus Reed, but the writing was on the wall with the eye. Absolutely. And he came off the deck, too. He got dropped by David Reed. You see, when people talk, I'm glad you said that. That was a very close back and forth battle, you know? Very close back and forth battle. And I mean, I like when people put fights in perspective. I'm saying, like somebody might talk about Tank Davis beat Isaac Cruz in this next fight, but they're not gonna put it in context. Like, dude looked like ass. I had that fight a draw. I had that fight a draw, but that's neither here nor there, you know. So yeah, man, great fighters going into the Hall of Fame. Looking forward to it. I'm kind of rejuvenated, man. Talking old school boxing with y'all, man. First mentioning Frank Tate, Jersey Joe Walcott, all kinds of Gene Tunney, man. This is where we have great boxing minds connect over here. You know what I mean? And I appreciate all y'all coming through. Probably about to seal the deal on this joint. Holy shit, man! Celtics versus Lakers, man. I'm here. I'm about to watch this ball game, y'all. Hey y'all, hey, I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. Big ups to everybody in the chat. Salute to all y'all. I need to do more chats often, man. Get up and talk boxing with y'all, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Please hit the thumbs up, please share, subscribe, and like the video, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace out, Chris M. Salute to y'all. Peace.